I have an important question to ask you.
Is it open? It's not even open. August. This is that we checked. This was going to be their last day open in August, or for a while. We have succumbed to the question I had for you initially is, what is brunch? But I guess it's the kind of existential question that I could fold into what I really wanted to talk about, which was ruminations on what I'm here to do in Paris.
I also just realized I don't have my phone tripod stand thingamajigger, so instead of a classic sit down somewhere and talk, I think we do a walk and talk. But I filmed this part before. Is the brunch good? I hope it's good. What is brunch?
I'll take a walk and I'll find coffee elsewhere. I guess it's August. I do love Paris in August because it's quiet. I mean, it's reminiscent of COVID times, but in a nice way. And if you're not beholden to the school schedule, then it's very easy to take your vacation outside of the August exodus. And so like early September is a really good time to go on vacation when you're single, because all the families have come back, and then you can go to a town that hasn't quite shut down from tourist season yet, but is very happy to have some final quiet tourists come through. It's a nice way to go about it. The existential question, I was just gonna joke while having coffee, was about brunch. What is brunch? We were gonna make another video about like brunch spots in Paris, and I'm hesitant just because it seems silly to some degree, because I don't know what brunch has come to mean. I think at some level, obviously, breakfast and lunch, you're having breakfast for lunch, although you could probably go the other way and have lunch for breakfast, which is a little bit weird. And then if you're having breakfast foods for dinner, that's Brinner, right? But we used to do that when I was a kid. I loved having waffles for dinner. It was a nice random treat. Anyways, brunch obviously took off more as a kind of a boozy thing. Chicago, New York, you're gonna have a Bloody Mary with the most egregious amount of eggs on top of something that does not need to have eggs on it. We're surrounded in bacon. What is brunch? What is brunch to you? That's what I'm curious about, because I feel like if I'm gonna make a definitive, this is where to go get brunch in Paris, I'm not exactly sure what people's expectations for that anymore, because there are a lot of people that come to Paris and basically describe literally breakfast for lunch, I guess a croissant and some eggs, as brunch. And to me, that just seems dissatisfying. It's more than the French would normally eat for breakfast, for sure. So, in that way, it's a nice middle ground, I suppose. But then I'm thinking roll over and only really have one meal levels of brunch, So maybe my expectations are out of whack. I don't know. On this little walk and talk, I originally was going to sit over by the canal, because the spot I was going to have brunch is right here, obviously. Recommendation from my friend Miguel. My patrons voted on it. They voted on another restaurant, but because it's a recommendation from Miguel, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be solid. So I don't mind showing you the place. It's called Crow. I have not tried it myself yet, but I'm sure it'll be good. And I do need to go to the post office. I'm gonna do this real quick, and then we're gonna pick this back up. That took 50 minutes. Might as well take it an hour. I don't know how long that took. The complications of trying to ship things to America are insane. This is because it's so expensive and so complicated to do this. I couldn't even do it digitally. I had to do it manually by writing on an old school customs form, and then it cost way more. But that was a gift for my sister. The book that I was sending was to somebody in Canada. We all shipping in the States has to happen from within the States. It's complicated. We had to use 2 printers to print my book for this exact reason. Anyways, that's not what we were gonna talk about. And if you see, all this stopping is because the dog really has to sniff everything. So let's. And other people's dogs are gonna make the sound. That's not Cooper. I think that's our sign to take a bridge. What I have been thinking a lot about is the express goal, more or less the mission of Paris, My Pocket, is to help people have the best time in Paris possible. I'm thinking about how we try to do that by giving people good information, but also by supporting an ecosystem of healthy small businesses that we love, that we want to support, so that when people come here, they do have a good time. And because it makes living here better. Ultimately, leaving Paris better than we found it, investing in this city, the city that we live in, the city that we love, is the mission, right? Trying to leave this place better than we found it. And so Paris in My Pocket has one version of that goal, or that mission. And thinking on what are the versions of that mission for other things, like my podcast, my vlog, because it does all need to come together to have that impact, ultimately. Speaking of supporting small businesses, love us some Cafe Margot. Great. Bad dog energy on that side of the canal. I'm glad we crossed over. I'm reading a book by Eric Ries that I was going to show you because it's in my backpack, but obviously we're doing a non-hands-free version of a vlog today. It's called Incorruptible. I think I called it Uncorruptible in the podcast we recorded with Tamara yesterday, so forgive me for that. But it's really, really good in digging into like what makes businesses ultimately long-term successful. And the premise is that you do so by redefining profit, not as the money that's left over after all expenses are accounted for, but in measuring human flourishing. So his definition for it is profit is the maximization of human flourishing. And it's up to each individual business to figure out what that means, but developing themselves in a way that drives that and that maintains that mission even as financial gravity kicks in and the temptation to extract value instead of build it, which is happening a lot all around us. I'm definitely much more impassioned by the idea of creating value. And like I said, of leaving my home better than I found it. And so it's really helpful to read through the examples that he has, both of the failings and of the successes, and then look back at what we're building here and ask, okay, how are we doing that? How are we defining human flourishing? And how are we seeking to maximize that? So I'll be reflecting on that a lot here. I don't have direct answers. I do think that like doing everything we can to give as much information away for free about how to both visit Paris, but also enjoy it, live here, find small businesses to support, avoid scams, avoid, the taxi scam video should be out now. I don't know if, I don't think I dropped any hints about it, but I went undercover with Le Parisien newspaper here, a big newspaper here, actually. We went undercover and did a taxi scam investigation by just throwing ourselves into a fake taxi and seeing how it went out at Charles de Gaulle Airport. That kind of stuff is valuable, right? Like, it's a little bit crazy and I guess a little risky, but it's also the kind of thing that gives us a real firsthand experience that we can share to help other people avoid those scams, because it's not my role to combat crime directly. Like, I'm not a police officer. I'm not here to investigate it in that way. But if I can warn you in advance that a scam is present and what the look and shape of it is, hopefully it helps a few dozen people at least to avoid it over the course of time. You get it. Anyway, it's not that any of this is particularly earth-shattering or groundbreaking, but that is the drain I'm circling right now, is how do we define collectively as a team, but also personally as a business, etc., what it means to maximize human flourishing. I know Cooper wants to maximize plant flourishing by peeing on literally everything he can right now. But, you know, we all have different missions in life. Literally everywhere we go. I can't show you that.
Again, we see Mr. J.
Quit stalking me. I feel like I should try the lemon meringue. Is this, how long have they had the meringue? It's like an English breakfast. Well, that was lovely. Just a random run-in. I've been having a lot of those lately. This is the thing. I live here. This is my home. I have such a sense of community here that I don't know that I've ever had before. I've definitely felt known at times in my life and felt somewhat connected, but there's just something healthier and deeper here. And I think so much of that goes back to also me being a healthier person than I've ever been before. So if Paris has been the backdrop to which I have found myself, found my health, built my business, this is a thing too, like reminding myself that even though it's been a tough stretch and the French government is taking more money than God right now, which is making quite the complication out of the situation, it's because things are growing, things are going well. How do we double down on what we're doing, maintain health, make some adjustments to be healthier for the long term, and then put everything we have towards making Paris a healthier place for the long term, both selfishly for ourselves, but also for the people we love. You know, I mean that's ultimately it, right? Like, we want to live in a healthy place filled with healthy people. So how do we do that? Sometimes the dog wraps himself around a tree and I feel like I've anchored myself. For being so small, he's really good. He's just like he just triples in mass suddenly. He's very, very talented. Anyways, thanks to Ken Marquez and all of my delightful patrons for being a part of my healthy ecosystem. You guys are such a great input into both my life, my creativity. Ultimately, I hope you know that what you're supporting is something that will outlast us all. Like, that's really the goal, right? Like, how do we leave a positive mark on a city that we love, leave it better than we found it, and have a good time doing it? I think those are the questions. I mean, they're not new questions, but circling back to really thinking about it again. So I'm going to be taking a week to rest. I'm doing a full August staycation. So I'll see you bright and early one of these mornings sometime soon. On the other side, there is a new Paris My Pocket video coming out, maybe the day that you're seeing this, on how to use the metro with some updates for 2026. And obviously there's that video on taxi scams where I went undercover with a reporter from Le Parisien. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. And of course you can watch his video too. I'll link to both below. And happy August. à la rentrée.
Bah, c'est ce que je lui ai dit.